Hi guys, welcome to another edition of Panic Man 10. This time around what I want to do is I want to go through a generalization of how to make your character classes, different builds. Let me turn this down here one second. Turn it down on my headset at least so I can hear you guys better. So this is going to be a generalization video on how to do different character classes, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. I'm surprised the music is this loud, when it's off, It's really weird that it's this loud. Sorry, guys. It's bothering me in the background with my headset. How much more lower do I need to turn my headset? Like, come on, and hopefully you guys can hear me over the music. I don't get that, There's an options for it for a reason. Anyway, this is going to be a generalization video. And then we're going to go more thorough into the classes, like about hard locking your level cap and how you're going to do that and that sort of thing. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is for people, whether you have experience with the game or you don't. I'm going to walk you through the different classes and the different types and things like that. We're going to load in start a new character. We're going to, take you through like everything, like, the new stuff that they've done with Chaos, All right, okay. We're going to talk about the new level cap, which is 50, and we're going to go through all this stuff right here, and I'm going to walk you through building your character, okay? Because what they've done here is they made it universal and you don't even know it. So the very first thing that we need to choose is whether or not we want to be male or female. Yes, there's only two genders, okay? And I'm glad that they kept it this way, all right? So we're either male or we're female, and you can tell on the left and on the right, that's what we're here to choose from, okay? Once you decide what sex you want to be, okay, all right, then we need to decide the race. Now this is extremely important, okay? So what we want to do here is not look at the race and read about it, but what we want to do is look at their perks. This one has alchemy, blacksmithing, and persuasion. Now let's look at what it says up top here. Almain, right? The Almain are a warlike. Okay, so these are going to be our warrior race, obviously, okay? And religious race with a storied origin, okay? Many Almain come to the Feyland seeking freedom while honoring the traditions of their homeland. Okay, so that would be your warrior class right there. Okay, now let's look at the Vararni. Now let's see what their starting bonuses are. Detect hidden, lock picking, and merchandise. This tells me, because look at lock picking, right? It's at 2, and detect hidden is at 1. And they're really good at selling stuff. This tells me that this is your thieving class, right? So your thieves class, right? Okay. And we'll get into more like this. Now let's read what it says about the Vararni. Hardened by the high seas, the Vararni are just as likely to be pirates or mercenaries as they are to be shrewd merchants. So we can even make pirates in this game. We could that's interesting. We can make mercenaries even if we want to, right? And this would fit this class. So right there we got two different things that we could be here that we don't have, pirates and mercenaries. I never thought about that. So now it opens it up for me to make new classes, right? All right, so now we have the Lostafar, or however you want to pronounce it. Let's take a look at what they are here. They got alchemy, dispelling, and sagecraft. This to me is, this is the wizard class, right? Okay, so let's read what they are. A proud and ancient race from the frozen lands of the north, Lostafar judge themselves fit to divine right from under wind, sun, and sky, and they meddle and even-handed justice. I don't know what to make of that, to be honest with you. I look at their starting bonuses and I go, that's a mage. So we have our warrior class, we have our thief class, and we have our mage class. The three major ones, right? Now let's go down to the next one. We got 4 different ones here to pick from, which is awesome, right? The Dokafar. Okay, now let's take a look at what they got. They got Sage Crafting, they got Stealth, and they got Persuasion. Okay, notice Stealth is at 2, right? Okay, now this tells me that this is also another type of thieving class, right? That goes into the mage category and is really good at persuading people to their side. So this could be like a diplomat, this could be a thief, this could be, any number of things when you really look at it. So let's look into what they say about it. Renowned as sophisticated students of magic and diplomacy. Okay. Jokafar are not strangers to conflict, although they prefer to resolve disputes subtly with grace and efficiency. Okay, so this is they're in stealth, so we can make this another thief class, right? They're in sagecraft. We can put this into, the sage one, which is the one right above us, right? Okay, and they're into persuasion, so we can make this like, as someone who's really good at charming people, right? So that's a really good bonus right there because we got something in sage crafting, we got something in persuasion, and we're in stealth. So this is really, really good build for thieves, for people that want to persuade others to their side. A good example of that would be like someone like a diplomat, really. Like they say it right there. They think they said diplomacy, right? So there you go, right? So someone who's a charmer, right? Like, I'm going to make a build a succubus, and this is the one I would take because they get a +1 in persuasion right off the bat, right? So I would go with the Dokofar for a succubus, for example, right? Because the succubus would be in stealth, and they would be in persuasion, because they're going around sucking the life energy out of people by having sex with them, and that sort of thing. So I got a bunch of really unique builds for you guys, but these are the 4 different races. So the thing that we want to pay attention to is their starting bonuses, right? Here we got alchemy, blacksmithing, and persuasion. Here we got detect hidden, lock picking, and mercantile. Pay attention to the +2 because that'll tell you what they're really, really good at, which tells you if they're a warrior or if they're thieves. So when we look at the blacksmithing, it's at +2, that's warrior, right? We look at lock picking, that's +2, that's thief, right? We look at dispelling, that's magic, that's +2. You see what I'm saying? This is how you know. And we look at stealth here, it's at +2. That tells me that's another thief as well, okay? And the trade-off here with this thief over the other one is that the other one has mercantile and detect hidden, which I think is the thief right there, but this one has persuasion and sagecraft. Ooh. You see what I mean? You see the 2 differences there? Sagecraft and persuasion versus detect hidden and mercantile. Detect hidden tells me this is leaning more towards the thieving class because, you're into noticing things and changes in your background, right? So once we pick our class that we want to be, which is what these races are, is like determining what class we're going to be. Warrior, thief, mage, and a thief with an influence in persuasion. You know what I mean? So, they could go either way, all right? So, plus they also have sagecraft. That's really interesting starting bonuses right there. Now let's go to the patron gods. Now this is important because it tells you right here, this is only available to the Varani and the Dokafar, okay? So this one right here gives us a +8 to critical hit and +1 to critical chance. Now let's go take a look at the Varani, which we already know is the thief, but let's take a look at the Dokafar. The Dokafar, I do believe, is the bottom one, right? Now the Dokafar, yeah, it is. So there's another thief-like race, right? Okay, so there we go. So the thieves can get critical hit damage, all right? Okay, and critical hit chance, and that's really, really good if you're a thief, right? But let's go on down further. Now we have the Dokofar, which is the bottom one on the list there, right? And they get +5 to mana and +5 to mana regeneration. Now remember, that one has sage crafting, okay? Plus personality, plus like, what is that? Like, going into stealth mode, right? Okay. Now, the next god that we have here, and I go low G, I do not go high G because there is only one real god, is available to 3 races. We got the Almain, the Lostafar, and the Juckofar. So only the Vararni can't pick this one. And that's a plus 10 to mana. Okay. Makes sense. Then we got another one here, is only available to the Ducklefar, which is the last one. And they get a plus 5 to health and a plus 1 to critical hit. Alright? Chance to critical hit. Then we have the next one here to the Vararni and Ducklefar, which are your thief classes. Now remember, the thief class can also become an assassin, right? And we got poison damage and poison resistance. So right off the bat, regardless if you have poison abilities or not, your character right off the bat automatically does every time that they hit the 6% chance of them causing poison damage, and then 6% poison resistance right off the bat, right? Okay. Now, when we go down further, available to the Lokafar is plus 6 lightning damage and plus 6 lightning resistance, okay? All right, that's the mage one, if you remember. Okay, that's one we said was for mages, right? Now, this one is available to the Elmine and the Lokafar. Now, the Elmine are the ones that are the warrior type, and they get 10% health. This one right here is available to the Elmane and the Lokafar, and the Elmane is the war class one, and they get 5 health and 5 mana. Okay. Then we have here the Lokafar only, and they have elemental resistance. So obviously that's the mage class, right? Okay. This one is the Vararni only, and they are the thief class, and the stealth class, right? And they got plus 6 ice damage, plus 6 ice resistance, right? That's interesting. I would give that to the mage class is what I would do. Anyway, so then we got this one here, which is the Almain and the Vararni. And the Almain are the warrior class, and then the Vararni is the next closest to the warrior class. So this would be plus 5 physical damage and plus 5 to armor. Actually, a really good start when you think about it, right? And then here we got Almain and Vararni, which is plus 6/5 fire damage and plus 6 to fire resistance, and that's really, really good. Or if you want to, you can go none if you don't like any of them and get plus 1 experience bonus right off the bat. I'm going to say that I think that going none is probably the most detrimental for you. So my suggestion is, once you pick your race, and this is why it's important to understand your build when you go to start it, and understanding your build and what you're going to make. I'm going to make a warrior, I'm going to make a mage, I'm going to make a thief, right? I'm going to make a stealth class, right? Okay. Then it's important to note, because then we can get into your actual build. And remember, this is a generalization video. I'm going to do more in depth about the warrior ones, and I'm going to do more in depth about the thief ones, and I'm going to do more in depth about the wizard ones, and then I'm going to get into multi-classing in that, because this game is actually a lot more deeper than you think. So I'm going to make a playlist about this, okay? Then once we do that, we get into the customization. I'm going to skip all of this, okay? It's all about making your character however you want it to be. And then we get Welcome to the Fane Lands with our HUD and that. So basically you go and you play the tutorial. So now what I want to do is I want to take you into the game here. We're going to go to continue with the character I'm currently playing as. I want to show you exactly what I mean by this and how your character is going to break down, how to hard cap your character, so that hard level capping your character so that you don't go past a certain level, okay? Now, I do think I need to level up my character in order to be able to show you properly, but I will talk about it first, hard leveling your character, and then we'll go from there. Now, hopefully you guys can hear me. If it sounds like I'm yelling, it's because of the music playing in my headphones. I'm trying to lower it as much as possible, okay? So just bear with me, all right? So obviously I'm on a quest here right now, and I'm like halfway through approximately level 7, so it took me a long time to do it. I might have to show you, starting a new character, right? But the things I want to talk about here, we can do here, okay? So for example, if you want to know what I took in terms of, the god that I got and that sort of thing in my armor and that, I can show you that. So our abilities, not our abilities, sorry, our destinies. Okay, so our destinies is where we start off as a fateless one. We don't have a destiny, and then we choose whether or not we want to go down the stealth category, which is where I am now. I'm a level 2 scout. Okay, all right. And that would be underneath what they call finesse. Right now, this is your stealth class. All right. Now, how you hard level your character, I'm going to point this out right now since I'm already doing stealth, right? Okay, is you look at all the stealth ones here that are available. So we have rogue, we have scout, we have hunter, we have ranger, and we have assassin, and we have nightblade. So if I want my character to be a ranger, right, an actual ranger, okay, then I'm going to end it right here at tier 4, which means I'm not going to go any higher than a 49 in finesse, which means I have to be careful. Now, how do you make this happen? Okay, let me show you, okay? Assassin, we could go, and we can go as far as Nightblade, okay? So now, why do we want to do it this way? Because this tells us our hard level cap, right, okay? And then we're not going to level beyond it, because if we level beyond it, then we're becoming something that we're not. Like an assassin is completely different than a ranger. I think we all can agree with that, right? And a nightblade is completely different than an assassin and a ranger. They play differently, their builds are differently. If you do it that way, it should be reflective that way. So how would we make a ranger, for example, right? Okay, well, that's a good question. So let's just go into our skills then, okay? All right. So, and the one that I took here for my god, so to speak, low G, not big G, is I took the mischievous one, okay, the Locopaw. So I ended up with +6 poison damage and +6 poison resistance. That's really, really useful in this game, okay? So that's the god I took right there, is that one there, Lopok's Blessing, okay? That's one that I took there, all right? So, in terms of the skills, now this is what you got to be careful of, okay? When we go into this, we need to understand that we are a thief class, which means we're into lockpicking. I'm just using this lightly here. We're into stealth, right? These are going to be the big ones. And detect hidden, right? Okay, because this is like, majorly what we do, okay? Now, if you're in the Ranger class too as well, you might even be able to spec into Persuasion, right? I'll go more in depth when I do a character in depth. This is just a generality video, but this gives you an idea of what we're going to do and what we're not going to do, what we're going to spec into and what we're not going to, just as an example, right? Now, you'll notice, like, this also means that our abilities are going to be different too. Now, we're going to be specking into the finesse category. What are rangers known for? Well, they're known for their bow. This is their main go-to. So we're going to be specking all the way up the bow tree. You see what I mean? Okay, this is going to be our primary weapon. Okay, all right. And then we could have daggers as a backup, right? The Ranger class is not a warrior class, right? In the sense that they're not like, a warrior, like, where they go into might or where they go into sorcery. No, these guys are like, with Mother Nature, they are known for their bow and arrow. They have light armor, so they're quick on their feet. I'll go into more detail about a ranger, and if you saw my ranger build in Skyrim, that's exactly what you're going to be doing here, right? So then we have to go through all the different skills that are here and go, what fits the ranger build, okay? And then that's where we're going to put our points. So we're not going to go into shadow flare and all this stuff, right? You know, this whole thing here. Unless you took poison as your thing, then you're going to be doing that as poison. But the very first thing you want to do before you do anything else is specking into bow and specking into daggers. Now, why is this important? Because your bow and arrow is your main weapon, okay? Your daggers is your secondary weapon. So you want to put all 3 points every time you level up into this until it's maxed out. Then you want to go to this, okay, all right? And then you can figure out other stuff. Like you got to, stealth here, for this. This makes you go invisible and causes people around to get damaged. And this causes poison damage, which is an additional X amount, every time you go to throw the smoke bomb. So this would be good for a ninja build, right? So like if you're to do a ninja, that would be what you would want, is you would want to get that smoke bomb, and then you want to add the poisons into it. And then if you're to make a ninja, remember this is a generalization video, you'd want to get into poison, you'd want to get into the shadow magic, you want to get into the bow, and you want to get into the dagger for the ninja, as well as this one right here, which allows you to dash, okay? And this one right here, which is honing your critical hit damage, right? Okay, so this is like what you got to do, is you really got to pay attention to the skill tree and go, where do I want to go with my character, and what do I want to limit it to within the finesse category, because there's only so many points I'm going to get. Every time you level up, you only get 3 points to put into this, okay, all right? So you got to keep this in mind, right? Now, the cool thing is that you can respect your characters, so you can take the +1 in sorcery and the +1 in might, and you can respect your character for a certain amount of gold with any Sage Weaver, okay? All right? So you can take those out of there, which is what I plan on doing eventually. All right, but I haven't done it with this character yet. So this is like how you do it, right? Okay, so this gives you an idea. So by going into this and we decide, okay, I said ninja there, right? Now, do we have ninja there at all? Where's my finesse? Please and thank you. Okay, there it is. So we don't have ninja, but we do have assassin. So we could say assassin is a ninja, right? That's really, really close to it. So we can go up to tier 5 because that's where we would be, or maybe even possibly a Nightblade, right? But I would probably say assassin fits the ninja build to a T, right? Range attack, resistance while dodging, chance to critical hit, piercing damage, and chance to avoid hit. And then here we have ranged attack, damage, resistance while dodging, chance to critical hit, piercing damage, assassination guaranteed at +300%, critical hit after triggered evasion. So you have to do evasion first, right? Evasion, 11% chance to avoid. Now, this is a very specialized class. People who know Nightblades know what they are, okay? They got to write up there about it, right? So we'd look at this. So I would say the ninja fits within the assassin category, right? So we can be an assassin, we can make that a literal class, or we can also go ninja as well too, and then we hard cap it at tier 5. This means that when you get to tier 5, your character's done. So every time you level up, you put in points, okay? Each tier requires X amount of points. You only get 3 points per level. So by the time you get here, you could be pretty high level. Because look, I need 76 points. I only get 3 points. You do the math. I'm not going to. It's too early in the morning for me to think that way. But if you go 3 points per level, and you go 76 points, okay, you divide that by 76 because you see it's an even number there, 3 and 3 is 6, okay, all right. You know that this is an even number in the end, then it's going to tell you where your hard level is going to be. So how do you do a hard level? Well, okay, what you're going to see when you go to level up is you're going to see an indicator above the inventory here, right? First off, on this screen here, on the bottom left, you're going to see level up, right? And it'll show on the PS4 controller, it'll show options. So you press your options button, and right above inventory will be level up. As long as you don't hit that level up button, that's your hard cap. You see? So when you level up and it says that you got to level up, you don't have to take the level up. You can you can hard your cap level at, let's say, 8, because I'm 7.5 right now. So let's say I want to end my character at level 8. I can end my character at level 8 because I don't have to level up, because that level up icon will be above the inventory. So it's its own separate category, which allows you to choose your abilities, and also allows you to choose your skills. Okay, all right. So by hard locking ourselves, we then now have an even. We need to make better choices on how we're doing our character. So if we're making a thief, we want to make sure we're in stealth and lock picking, right? Okay, so we're going to hard lock it there. Now that doesn't mean that we're going to be advanced, because in order to get into advanced, we got to be level 8, and then in order to get into master, we have to be level 16. Okay, we have to stick within the rules of the character that we made. So if we made a thief, we got to stay a thief. If we made an assassin, we got to stay an assassin. And how we determine this is, again, by going into the different types of things that are available to us. Where was that now? Where did I find that? Sorry, guys. Skills, effects, status. Where did I find that now? Just give me 1 second, guys, here. Ability. Oh, destinies. That's where I did it. Okay, destinies, right? Okay, so this is where we got to be careful. Okay, so what do we consider to be a thief in here, right? Like, like hunter is obviously not a thief. Ranger's not a thief. Assassin's not a thief. Nightblade's not a thief, right? So it's going to be stuff prior to this, right? So then we have to figure out, like, maybe it's a rogue, right? Or maybe it's a scout. So then you're hard locked at level 1, or then you're hard locked at level 2, like at the second tier, right, when you get 11 points into your character, right? So then you really got to think out, how many points do I want into my character, right? But then you got to go by the name here. I mean, Ranger is hard capped at tier 4. So you want to make sure that if you make a Ranger, that it stays hard at 4. If you want to make an Assassin, you're going to do this too. Now let's touch on this too in terms of, like, what are you going to do with a warrior build, okay? Well, let's look at what's available. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry, I switched it. I want to unlock the warrior class. So when we go warrior class, like, here's the universal build, right? This is what they start you off with. They start you off with Fateless 1, Rogue level 1, Brawler 1, and Acolyte 1. So in other words, you get all 3 of these, you get a 1 in it, okay? Now, here, what we're doing here is now we got Brawler, so we're just punchy with our fists, right? Fighter, so there's your fighter right there. So if you're just making a fighter, that's where you're going to hard cap it, okay? A soldier, a warrior, and a conqueror, or a warlord. So you have to decide what kind you want to be. Like, do you want to be a barbarian, which would be like, a brawler? Or do you want to be like, a soldier in the army? Or do you just want to be just an ordinary fighter? Or do you want to be like Conan the Barbarian, where you might even be a conqueror or warrior? Or do you want to be a warrior like Genghis Khan? You know what I mean? So then you got to kind of think, like, okay, what do I want to do with my character? What kind of build do I want to make it, right? So this is what you would do in the warrior, in the might class, okay, which is your warrior class. Let me close out the finesse one too as well. Now let's talk about the sorcery class, okay? So now if you're going to go down sorcery, you start at acolyte, okay? You become an initiate, you become a seer, you become a sage, you become a sorcerer, and you become an archmage, okay? So this is going to determine what kind of mage we want to be, right? The sorcerer, I think is what everybody would aim for, or an archmage, like if you're to do this, right? Now we're going to get into other classes too, such as battle mage and stuff like that. That's coming up. We're just sticking with the pure classes first, and then we're going to get into the others, and hopefully I have enough time to do this. This is where you're going to hard cap your level, all right? So let's close that out and let's now go into multi-class, okay? So let's cover the, actually let's do, since we're thinking about Battle Mage, let's go into Might and Sorcery first, okay? So here we have Guardian, we have Battle Mage, so there's your Battle Mage. So you need 14 in Might and 14 in Sorcery, and then you're hard capped right there. There's your Battle Mage, okay? There's your Crusader. So the Crusader is like the Cleric and the Paladin, and in this case it would be the Paladin, right? Okay, or the Cleric, okay? So that would be your Crusader. The Paragon, I'm not too sure how to describe that one. Sorry, guys. Champion. Okay, so ultimately you could be champion, okay? Now, Crusader would be your cleric and your paladin, okay? And Battle Mage would be obviously Battle Mage. So then you need to decide if you want to be a Battle Mage, if you want to be a Holy Warrior like a Paladin or a Cleric, or if you want to go beyond that, right? Like where do you want to go with this, okay? So that's the Might and Sorcery. Now let's take a look at the one above it, which is the Finesse and Sorcery. We have Disciple, we have Arcanist, Warlock. So if you want to become a Warlock, oh, you didn't know you need to have Finesse to do that. Yeah, you actually have to have 25 points in Finesse and 25 points in Sorcery. See, this is the beauty of this, right? Because it actually already has, technically, your character sheet. You just don't know it until now. Here's your character sheet. 25 in Finesse, 25 in Sorcery, okay? So you're going to be hard at Warlock, right? Okay. Then we got Spell Cloak, and we got Shadowcaster. So you see, now we're starting to get into classes that you guys know. You know what I mean? All right, so then you got to determine that too as well. All right, and don't worry, we'll try and break these down a little bit more better. Then we have the Might and Finesse category. Okay, all right, so here we got Duelist, we got Warden, we got Avenger, we got Slayer, and we got Blade Master. And you see how the numbers are at the top of the screen there as to what you need. 6, 6, 14, 14, 25, 25, 38, 38, 55, 55. And this goes for all of the double classes. All right. Now you need to cap yourself at that once you hit that tier level. Okay. Now let's look at the universal build, right? Might, Finesse, and Sorcery. What do we have here? We have Seeker. We have Wayfarer. We have Adventurer. So to be an Adventurer, here's your Adventurer right here, right? 10, 10, 10, okay? Your Prodigy, your Polymath, and your Universalist, right? So 37 in each one. Then there's your hard cap. So you have to decide with all of these what class you want to be. And this is why I'm breaking it down for you like this. So let's take a different one than what I'm going down right now, right? So like if I was to go into, let's say, let's do I like this idea. Let's do the Battle Mage, right? So if I was to do Battle Mage, well then this determines the type of armor I can wear. If I'm going to be a Battle Mage, I'm either going to go with heavy armor or I'm going to go with light armor. That's up to you because light armor allows you to be versatile, and yes, it does matter in this game because you will slow down when you go to dodge and that, so you're going to be more blocking if you go with heavy armor, okay? And then if you go with light armor, you're going to be quicker and more agile on your feet. If you go with Crusader, you're going to be more of a holy warrior. So you're going to be like, you know, in heavy armor, more than likely, and you're going to use a shield. You're going to have like a long sword, okay? And you're going to have healing as your thing, all right, in Might. So let's go take a look at Might and Sorcery, and let's take a look and poke around there and make sure I didn't make any changes to my character. It shouldn't be. Okay, I'm a scout right now. Okay, all right, cool. So let's take a look at the abilities in these. All right, so we already went over Finesse, like, you know, some things there. We're just going to do some. We're just touching on it, okay? So right off the bat, we got right here, we got our shield ability, okay? All right, we got Harpoon. We got Hammer Mastery. We got Longsword Mastery. and we got brutal weaponry. Okay, now it's important to note this because if we become a holy warrior, let's say, then we want long blade, okay, because we're into long swords, right? But if we're a warrior class like Conan the Barbarian kind of stuff, then we want friggin' hammers and that kind of stuff, like the double weapons, right? Okay. And this also determines whether or not we're going to use a shield, okay? All right, if we're going to use a shield, then we definitely want the shield ability too, okay? And then we have harpoon, all right, pull your enemy. So basically you're aggroing, okay? All right. So this all depends, again, weapon mastery, like, how skillful we are with the weapons, all right, causes more damage, right? And then we go through the whole tree. I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to do it when we get into the specifics of them, right? See, all the way up to like Battle Frenzy and Stone Skin. So you actually have Stone Skin, which is really, really cool. So like if you make a Battle Mage, that'd be really freaking cool, And Clarity, kind of thing, all right? So you kind of get an idea here of what we're looking at. Wrath, like, like Aftershock, Quake, here's another shield one right here, right? Relentless Assault, sorry. Looked like a shield. Vengeance, Bloodlust, Warcry, Terror. I mean, like, hello, Warcry. There's something that you would do if you're a warrior. You know what I mean? Right? So you really got a hardy constitution. Like, yeah. So you really got to look at the benefits, next level +5 to maximum health and elemental resistance. So you got to look at the benefits, read about what it does, right? Take your time with this tree and understand each one of the skill trees and what they do as to what kind of build you're making, and then stick with that build. Just like I taught you guys in Skyrim, I'm teaching you now here. Now let's look at sorcery. Now this would be here. What are we gifted at? We do staffs, we do scepters, and we have arcane magic. But I do believe they use chakrams. Yeah, they have chakrams too. Okay, so this is where you're going to find the chakrams, the scepters, and the staff, and the arcane weaponry, right? So arcane being, magic weapons, right? How good we are with magic weapons, right? Okay, and then we got things like healing. So like if I want to make a cleric, right? Let's say I want to make a cleric, then I'm going to go warrior mage. Okay, so let's go back there for a second because there's your healing. You need 20 points in this. So let's just go see if this works out to what I was saying, right? Okay, so let's go back down to the dual classes. What was that? Cleric was warrior and sorcery, right? If I'm not mistaken. So that would be crusader. So we need 20 points. There you go. 25 points in sorcery, 25 in might. Bam. There's your cleric and there's your paladin, right? Okay, 25, 25. Okay, let's go back into our abilities. And what do we need in order to be able to heal? 20. You have to have 20 points into this, and we get 25, right? Okay, so we get to go up to 25 in each, right? Okay, so this means that we not only have 20 points, but we got more than that because we can go up to 25, right? So then we can spec our character up to 25. This means we can put 5 points into this. You know what I mean? Because this unlocks at 20, we get up to 25. So you really got to think out your skill tree, because if I'm going to be a paladin, if I'm going to be a cleric, then I want to make sure I nail this. And in order to unlock this, I have to have 20 points already into the skill tree. So I have to be careful about where I put my points. And the good thing is that if you mess up, you can always reset your character by visiting a Sage Master. Okay, now let me show you who those guys are. Okay, so in case you guys are confused about that, how do we get to the thing here? Destinies? No, that's not what I'm looking for here. Just one second, guys. I know, exit. Okay, so we're going to exit the game. We're going to go to the manual here, and then the manual will show us, like, what we need, where they are here. Okay, so I want to get into the so see, our level, right, will appear as a level up, right? but we don't have to hit the level up, okay? We can leave the level up there. That's hard capping it, okay? Once you reach the level you want to be, that's it. Now this game says you reach the maximum level at 40, but that's not true. This is the Fatesworn edition. If you get the Fatesworn edition, it goes up to level 50, okay? Just to let you know. The original game went up to level 40, but this one goes up to level 50. Okay, we don't need that. Fate Weavers. Okay, these are the guys right here, the Fate Weavers. Look for them in the world, and you'll find them in the world, and I'll show you by going back into my game here. You're going to look for a Fate Weaver. And what they do is they unbind your destiny. So you can actually do what's called unbinding, and depending on how many times you've done it, and your level will determine how much gold you're going to need in order to unbind it. But you can unbind it an infinite amount of times, right? Just as long as you got the money to unbind it, then you can unbind it. So if you make a mistake in a game, don't worry, you're not hard locked with that. You can change your mistakes, okay? Alright, by going to a Fate Weaver and having them unbind your character, and then you can respect your character. The only thing you can't respect is your starting attributes, okay? So your starting skills and your starting abilities, okay? Now, what do I mean by this? Okay, remember when we chose our race? All right? Okay, these hard locks here, you cannot change. So if we were to take the Almain as an example, and we're making a warrior as an example, okay, then we got 1 in alchemy, we got 2 in blacksmithing, we got 1 in persuasion. That will always stay the same when you go to visit a Fate Weaver. Those points will always be there. What it's going to do is reset the other points, okay? So you can't change your race, you can't change your patron god, okay? All right? You can't do that. But it resets everything else back to the base when you first made your character, okay? So therefore, if you made any mistakes whatsoever with your skill tree or that, you reset it. And you can do this infinite amount of times. As long as you got the gold, you can do it. And trust me, gold is not going to be a problem in this game, okay? So this is how you go about creating different, builds and that, and how you hard cap it. Because what's cool about it, by hard capping it, is that you're denying yourself to go any higher. Now, what we could do is, if we got enough time here, because when you get through the first level, is that I could put this on normal difficulty so that it's easier for us to do, right? Is that I can show you that. So like what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the map, okay? And we're going to look around, and each one of these things will show you, right? Okay, so here we got sage crafting, but we're looking for the sage guy, right? Okay, so some of these things will tell you where they are. So we got blacksmithing here. There it is right there. You see Fate Weaver, right? Okay, so if we go to the House of Ballads, there's a Fate Weaver there, and we can go there. And also, if you make your own gear and you want to unbind your gems, there's a person right there that can unbind your gems, you see? So anytime you make a mistake in a game, don't worry. As long as you got the gold for it, you can do it infinite amount of times. You don't need to have the skill for unbinding gems, which you can get in your skill tree to unbind them. You don't need to, restart your game all over again if you make a mistake with the Fate Weaver, okay? All right? So I'm just pointing that out to you, okay? Now, in terms of level difficulty, right, I'm going to use this as an example here, okay? You got 5 different level D difficulties, all right? And I'm just going to point this out. I'm playing it on hard right now. I'm not going to change it, okay? Because if I do, then it's going to upset my game, and I don't want to do that. Now, you got 5 different difficulties. It starts you off on normal, and then you got hard and very hard, and on the other side of the coin, you got easy and very easy. So what I recommend that you do is you start off on normal. If you find it too easy like I do, I automatically start on hard because I just find it way too easy. Then you can up it, okay, at any point in time in the game. You can up it any time in the game. The only difference is that if you change this, it'll come up with a warning that says, are you sure you want to change the game's difficulty? Changing difficulty may make you ineligible for certain trophies. So if you're going for the hard level trophy, then you don't want to change the difficulty. But if you don't care about the trophies and you just care about having fun and enjoying the game, then you can lower the difficulty or you can raise it. This is what I'm talking about, right? Okay. So you want to start on normal. If you find the game too easy, up it to hard. And if you find that too easy, then up it to very hard. So as your gear gets better and that sort of thing, then you can up the gameplay, okay? But you're finding it impossible to get through at a low level, then you can lower the difficulty. I find normal to be laughable, to be honest with you, okay? And, Joe Cater out there, if you're listening to this video, I recommend you play on hard right off the bat because I notice you play on legendary when you play Skyrim. If you're a Skyrim player and you want to know how to adjust the difficulty, if you're playing on legendary, you're either going to go hard or very hard. I'll tell you that right now. And you're probably going to go very hard, to be honest with you, okay? Now, hard was the highest level you used to be able to have back in the day, okay? But because of the Fatesworn, and this is why you need the Fatesworn edition, okay? Another reason, okay? You can go up to very hard, all right? So I'm going to take a chance here, and I'm just going to show you, okay? All right? They added an extra level of difficulty that wasn't there. So think of Skyrim, right? Okay, master level was the normal difficulty, and that's what hard is here. Okay, all right. But then they added in with the Fatesworn edition, they added in the very hard difficulty, right? So think of that as the legendary version of Skyrim. There you go. All right. So if you're used to playing legendary, you're going to want to put this on very hard. If you're used to playing on master, you want to put it on hard. And for the most of you guys, you're probably like, noobs and that. So, and I'm not insulting anybody. I'm just saying it is what it is. You're going to want to play on normal, okay? So I recommend, based off of your experience with playing with Skyrim, that's what you do. Very hard is legendary, and hard is master, and normal is normal. Okay, all right, and the rest is self-explanatory. All right, so think of this as being master level, and think of very hard as being legendary. Okay, and then that's where you're going to want to play. So you might want to do it right from the start. Like when you first come out, and you're told pick your difficulty level, you might want to do it right off the bat like that. Okay, so there's some more right there. All right. So I think we covered everything for now as a generalization, and then I'll get more specific with the different builds out there as to how you're going to build your character. But this is also going to be your weapons and that you're going to need to take into consideration. Your armor you're going to need to take into consideration and things like that, right? So, and then also too, we can choose what kind of quests we want to go on. Like, do we want to join... This is the Fighters Guild, right? Do we want to join the Fighters Guild? Do we want to join the Mages Guild? Oh, and that's another thing too. Let me pull this up on the map here, okay? Now, I unlocked it somewhere around here. I got to find it here. There's Tough Farm. I unlocked Shield Key Reap. Okay, this is the Fighters Guild. Okay, Shield Ring Keep. That's the Fighters Guild. That's where you start the Fighters Guild, okay? But you got to unlock it by going through one of these pubs around here. Oh, Gohart. You go into Gohart, you go into the pub there, right? And there's a guy standing off to the side, and he says, a recommendation from me will get you into Shield Ring. Shield Ring is where you become the Fighters Guild, okay? Now, the one I'm looking for is, let me see if it's here. Del and Tarth, the Bellids. Okay, I can't find it right now, but the Travelers is the... Oh, it might be up here, this little one up here. House of Bellids? No. Okay, so anyway, the Travelers is the Thieves Guild, okay? And then the Arcania is the Mages Guild, okay? So these are the different ways that you're going to be able to decide what guilds you want to join. So I'll give you an example, all right? So we go into, is it Destinies I'm thinking of? No. What is it? Abilities? No. Status? Oh, here's a way that we can do the manual anyway. Okay, so let me see guilds here. Where's the guilds? Because this covers everything, right? So, like, this is great when you get lost. But there's your different skills, by the way. Okay, all right. So you want to make sure that you make your build off of this, right? Okay. You can have a maximum of 10 in each one. And then we got our abilities here, right? Which is might, finesse, and sorcery. So we got your warrior, we got your stealth, and we got your wizard class, right? Okay. Leveling up. Destinies. I'm looking for the one thing here too. Quest. Here we go. So now we got different faction quests. Okay. So the Schoola Arcania, that's the wizard guild. Okay. So that's the mages guild. The Travelers is the Thieves Guild, and the Warsworn is the Warriors Guild, okay? And then they added in House of Sorrows, House of Ballads. So we got 2 extra, right? But these are the different guilds that you can join, okay? These are joinable guilds. So if you want the Warrior class, then you want to go to the Warsworn, okay? If you want to be the Thieving class, you want to go to the Travelers. And if you want to do Mages, then you want to go to Scholana Arcania. Okay, all right. Now these are quests you're going to find as you go wandering around, and this is why it's important to talk to everybody in the game. No, I'm not joking. Literally talk to everyone so you can figure out where the Travelers is, you can figure out where the Warsworn is, you can figure out where the House of Sorrows is. Now just to show you what I mean by this, okay? And look, conversation is affected by your persuasion skill. So, you know Speechcraft in Skyrim, just to talk about this here, Speechcraft, that's what you're doing here, okay, is your level of persuasion. So when you think about this in terms of the Elder Scrolls games, right, okay, that's your persuasion skill. How good are you at persuading others to your side, to taking your side, right, okay? So if you're really good at Speechcraft, like if you're going to make a bard, here's a good example. If you're going to make a bard class, right, then you're going to be heavy into persuasion because you're heavy into persuading other people because you're not into fighting. Your fighting is your secondary, but your primary is how good you are at Speechcraft, which is persuasion. So how good am I at persuading others to taking my side of the conversation, my side of the dialogue, right? So if you make a bard, there you go. You're going to want to use Speechcraft, which is persuasion, okay, all right. So all of this is really, really important, like crafting, getting into alchemy, getting into blacksmithing, getting into sage crafting. Okay, so these things here would be like, okay, conversation. This would be someone who's heavy into speechcraft. So this would be like a bard, right? This would be like a diplomat, somebody like a king or a earl or something like that, right? Okay. Crafting is your ability with the warriors, right? The warrior classes. Alchemy would be your mage classes, right? Blacksmithing is your warrior class. Sagecraft is your mage class, okay? Combat, this just tells you about curses, diseases, and that. Let me just see if there's anything else here we need to hit with this. Lore stones are really good to find throughout the game. Crimes. So if you're a thief and you're doing thief, whenever you see this red hand, you're going to want to do these things. So you're going to want to go around pickpocketing. You're going to want to go around murdering people. If you're an assassin, you're going to want to go around stealing. You're going to want to, you know what I mean? Like, these are different things you can do in the game. Here's your 7 factions right here. Hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here's your 6 factions right here, right? So the white one is your warrior guild. The one to the right of that is the thieves guild, and I presume, like, I'm trying to figure out which one of those would be the Arcana. I'm not too sure which one it is. Then you got the House of Sorrows and you got the House of Ballads, okay? Those are your factions that you can join, right? Then you get player houses in the game where you can stash stuff and things like that, including change your appearance if you don't like your appearance. So basically everything is doable here if you mess up, except for your starting stats. That's it. So you can't change your race, because that's how you get your starting stats, right? So that's the only thing that you can't change. Everything within the game you can change, okay? All right, and bam, here's about the Fatesworn edition. So now we got new types of magic. So now we got chaos, risk. I don't know about this stuff because I haven't done it, so I'm not going to talk like I have because I haven't. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about this at all. I still need to do this, and I haven't done it yet. This game is big. It's massive. This is not something to take lightly. This game is going to take off a huge amount of your life. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay, I spent 190 hours into the game. I still had a lot to do in the main one, and I hadn't gotten around to it. And not only that, but then you also got the DLC, right? Okay, so let me show you what I mean by that. Let's go to the map. So the normal DLC it comes with is the Teeth of Neros, right? Which I think you have to be level 5 to start this. And then you got Dead Cal up here in the upper right, okay? And you need to be 10 or higher to start that, okay? Now, after you're done the main game and you get the end, like you're done, okay? And you're roaming around the world like it ends somewhere in Alabaster, okay? When you're done, then you got the Fatesworn edition. And this is why you want the Fatesworn edition, because then you get this piece of DLC which gives you the chaos. This is where the chaos magic comes into play and all that. This is the chaos level right here, okay? This is their own DLC, which they gave a proper ending to the game, because when you finished the game originally, there was no end to it, because this is meant to be an MMORPG. So you're left with this sort of barren feeling. Well, this is them having closure. Do not do this until you're ready for the actual ending of the game. Because I hear some people saying that your character dies. I hear some people saying all sorts of things. I don't know. I haven't played it. So make sure you've done everything else and you're happy with your character before you go into this. Because once you get into this, you may not like, I don't know if you die or not, but this is what I heard, right? Okay, so I'm staying away from that personally until I'm happy with everything. And if I don't want to do that, I don't have to do that. You're not forced into doing anything, right? So there's an idea of the map. There's an idea of different, classes and how to hard cap it. So when you go to play the game, you're going to be here, for example, right? Okay. All right. See, it's auto-saving. I hate that. But, well, actually, it's a good thing. But we haven't made any changes, so we're good. But the thing is that you're going to see in the bottom left, level up is available, right? You're going to see level up, right? And it's going to be glaring. So you hit the options for that. Now, what's going to happen, let's say we hard capped ourselves already, okay? So we're not going to go any higher. Above inventory, you're going to see level up. Just don't touch that and you're fine. You can still do everything else here and still sort out things and everything else and play the game. The level up will always stay above your inventory button, okay? Just remember that. And it will show up on your screen as level up because it's reminding you that it's there, but you don't have to use it. So if you finally decided what you want your character to be and what level you want them to be at, and you've decided what abilities they're going to use, okay, for that, then and you decided what skills they're going to have, and you're happy with your build and you want to leave it at that, then just leave it hard capped at that by not leveling up on the thing that pops up above inventory, okay? It won't auto level you. You actually have to level up yourself, which gets you to choose your abilities. You get 3 more points and gets you to choose your destiny and gets you to choose your skills, okay? All right, you get one of these, okay? All right, so you only get awarded one of these X amount of levels, by the way, okay? You get a total of 40 kind of thing by the time you get to 40, for example. So that's how this game plays out here, and this is how you're going to decide how to do your classes, okay? So you can do Nightblade if you want to, and I'm going to do a thorough breakdown of that in a later video. I'm going to go, okay, let's make the Succubus, for example. Let's make a Bard. Let's make all the different things there, and then I'm going to show you what god you're going to want to choose, what race you're going to want to choose, and that sort of thing based off of the benefits for that character.
so that we can actually role play the character the way that we want to, because the benefits are already there. Like I said, you want more into blacksmithing if you're going to be a blacksmith, right? If you're going to be into mage, you want dispelling and sagecraft, right? And maybe even alchemy, right? Because that's a thing there too, right? If you want to be a ranger, and that sort of thing, you get the idea of what I'm saying here, right? Okay, all right. So that's the whole thing. So like, let's look at it in terms of a ranger, for example. Okay, so if we were to do a ranger, what would that be like? Well, a ranger would be in the finesse build. Actually, it would be the bow and arrow with the daggers, and I think I already talked about that, right? Okay, and then you can look at the other classes here and go, is there anything else that would fit the ranger build? And if you find something, then okay, there's your ranger, right? And we already went through the multi-classes, blah, blah, blah. So I think we're done here for now for this video. You know, so that's everything I have to say as a generality, is have an idea. Do I want to be a Nightblade? Do I want to be an assassin? Do I want to be a ninja, which would be an assassin? Do I want to be, you know what I mean? Like, what kind of build do I want to make, right?